So again, a warm welcome to the both of you. We'll also plan some time for introductions so that we know who we all are. So we're diving deep today into corporate partnerships, how to set those up, how to retain corporate partners, and how to scale it towards our mission of building a world. We absolutely believe that corporate partners could and should play a crucial role in enabling social action. So we're excited to dive in. My name is Levi Witbaert, but my English name is very much cooler. It's Levi Whitebeard. So I really like the opportunity to share my English name in sessions such as these. It's actually, it sounds like a pirate name, but I'm not related in any way to a pirate. So just making sure. I am the head of growth at DeepMap. I joined 10 months ago and I absolutely fell in love with the whole sector, what we're doing here, and how I can contribute to making a change towards a better world. A session such as this is an amazing opportunity to connect with everybody that is doing the actual work. So I'm also joined here by my colleague, Hendrik Jan Overmeer. So perhaps you can introduce yourself to the rest.
Thank you, Levi. Yes, I never realized that your English surname is different. So for my English surname, it's Overlake. But my name is Hendrik Jan Overmeer, founding team member at DeepMap, responsible for connecting stakeholders, growing the community, and helping out our current clients with most of the time corporate volunteering. So that's why I also joined this session, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion because I really think that the connection between voluntary organizations, corporate, and community building really can help out in a sustainable solution to engage people and to engage communities with corporate volunteering. So really looking forward to this session. Thank you.
I just got a message also from Katie, so I'll forward the email to Gerbrands to see if we can invite her in. Over to Hannah. Perhaps you can introduce yourself to the rest. That would be great.
Good morning, I'm Hannah and I am the volunteer coordinator for Durham Community Action, and I support everything on the volunteering side of non-profit organisations. But I also work with the likes of Nissan and Amazon to support them into finding opportunities for their staff for their volunteer days.
That's amazing. So already corporate partnerships underway. Would love to hear more about that later on. Also joining us is Mel Wilson. If you can open up your mic and quickly introduce yourself to the rest. I believe the option should be somewhere below to unmute yourself. Okay, then we'll wait until everything is in order. No worries. Over to Deborah, I believe.
Oh, horrible, Mel. I had COVID in the summer and it was awful. So I hope you're feeling better soon. I'm Deborah. I'm from Team Hearts Volunteering, based in Hertfordshire, although we are branding to match our website, which is Go Vol Hearts. And we do get quite a few corporate volunteering inquiries. And we've got some local organisations which are quite good at dealing with those. Some of them are from local companies, and we have had, I think, Jarvis, who are a national or possibly multinational construction company. So we're just learning what we can do better, I suppose.
That sounds great. Well, sorry to hear that you're recovering from COVID. Hope you feel better soon, Mel. Perhaps for the rest, you can introduce yourselves via the chat. Also joining us right now is the actual Katie Stannon, which is great. There's an option to open up your microphone and your your camera so that you can introduce yourselves. That would be cool. Well, no worries. We're still figuring this out. Oh, I see unmute.
Yeah.
Katie, are you there?
Okay.
No worries.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, no, I take your point completely, and I'll talk to my colleagues about that to make sure that we are picking the phone up more often, especially for these sorts of ones. Absolutely, I take your point completely, Brian.
Somebody's calling in the background, so perhaps we can mute for now, Katie, and we'll move on. Can't hear or speak. Sorry. Always fun to have these kinds of technological setups. We used to do this in a webinar version where we just send out the message, but we decided last minute because of the group size to have it more interactive. And no worries, we'll make it work for. Let's dive into the presentation that we have for you today. I need to start up a presenter view. Hopefully everybody sees my screen. Today we're going to talk corporate partnerships, but you might be wondering, like, why is DeedMob the one hosting this session? Quick introduction on DeedMob. We provide a volunteering management solution or platform to organizations and people that want to do good at scale. So we started out in 2017 with a national brokerage sites in the Netherlands for matching volunteers and voluntary organizations. But soon we found out that there was a big need to organize it more locally. So we switched the whole model to supporting infrastructure organizations in the Netherlands, but also in the UK, to have a more regional or local approach with their own branded platform, so to say. And we work with the likes of Spark Somerset, but also, of course, the lovely people from Go Full Hearts and the Dutch counterparts in, for example, Amsterdam and The Hague. And we'll also share some examples from the Dutch market, which will probably be very useful and helpful to discuss. But it's not only infrastructure organizations that we support. In recent years, we also saw a big increase in the needs and wishes from the corporate sector, so to say. So a lot of corporates reached out to us that they wanted to engage their employees in offering them opportunities to engage with social action activities, so to say. So it's like companies such as Red Bull, KLM, and more recently, we've been working with the municipality in Amsterdam to also enable it for smaller organizations. Because if we talk corporate volunteering, most people have an understanding that it's mainly for the bigger companies, so to say. And we truly believe that if you focus it more on a local level, a smaller organization can sometimes make a much bigger difference than a huge corporate can. Now, the goal of DeedMob in the end is to establish and strengthen resilient local communities. We are focused on the Dutch and the UK market, but well, every opportunity that we get to empower organizations worldwide is right up our lane. So we work with organizations in all across the world, and yeah, we're on our way in our mission to be a true catalyst of change. Looking at the more practical side of things, this is the opportunity to learn and connect with each other. So the interactive part is a big one for us because we're also still learning. It's not that we all have all of the wisdom and all of the insights, but we're here to learn from each other. This is a safe space, so ask away, share your experiences, no matter how small they might be, because I truly believe that step by step will increase our engagement with volunteers, volunteer organizations, and corporates. Also, you might have heard it, I am Dutch. You can see it by my blonde hair and blue eyes. That might also explain some of my stone cold English, as we call it, and some Netflix-inspired vocabulary. So I might ask for clarification here and there, but we'll get there. Your audio is on mute, so we have some moments where we open up the discussion and really hope to engage with each other. Lastly, I think we've had almost all of the introductions, but Katie is actually up and running with video and audio, so perhaps it's also good for you to introduce yourself to the rest before we move on.
Yeah, thank you, Levi, and thanks for the opportunity to be here today. Apologies for my technical difficulties. I'm Katie. I'm from Go Vol Hearts. We use the DeedMob platform over in Hertfordshire, which is the county that borders London to the north. So we've been using DeedMob since February with great success. It's absolutely transformed the landscape for us in Hertfordshire, looking forward to learning from you all today, and looking forward to sharing as well. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, and great that everybody is joining. Well, on to the today's program, so to say. So we'll first get some. We'll first align on what is it exactly when we speak about corporate partnerships, like the who and the what. Because if you read all of the reports, corporate volunteering is a big trend, so to say. But in the daily reality, there's much more that that you have to take into account. So we'll focus on making sure that we have the right understanding of what it is. We'll also look at the benefits and challenges. Those are mainly based on our own experiences that we have with corporate partnerships. And we'll also open up the discussion to hear about everybody's experiences up until now. And then we'll move on to best practices. We have some great examples that we would love to share with you. And also we would like to kind of end with a more practical guide, how to go about it step by step to get started and how to create meaningful, long-lasting partnerships. So as I mentioned, save up your questions for the discussion part, but you can also use the chat if you have a burning question in between. And we'll also have a short break in between to have a cup of tea and enjoy the cold weather outside, perhaps. Then I got this quote from a very interesting report by the International Association of Voluntary Effort. They have this huge report on what is the role of corporate volunteering in a post-pandemic world. And it's a great quote. And I think this is really what it is and should be about. It's about how to collectively deepen our commitment to volunteerism as part of the solution to the challenges we face. We all know about the state of the world, so to say, and I think everybody feels that we can play a significant role in creating a better world. And we should also look at embracing volunteerism as imperative to the creation of shared value for not only our communities, but also for all stakeholders involved. Well, having said that, I think nobody can disagree with what we see here. But if we look at the daily reality, so to say, we see a lot of, on one hand, infrastructure organizations that are looking at how do I go about this? How do I set this up? How do I create value for our partners? But also on the corporate side, mind you, it's not only corporates, it's practically every business out there. How do I get started? How can I activate my employees? So we see that most of the challenges that we face before we can reach that shared value are more in the details, so to say. Some examples are, if we look at some of the challenges, it's not about commitment. I think I've never met somebody in and outside of DeedMob that isn't committed to this cause. But most challenges are mainly on, do I have the right knowledge and expertise? Do we have the time and the resources? What about the needs of all of the stakeholders and how can I align them? But it's also about the existential crisis. So changing priorities on the governmental side, so to say, which might get in the way of creating those long-lasting partnerships. And as we all know, on the business side, it's also a very volatile world. So a partner that is engaging with you and set this as a priority might not be the partner for long term. But we're not here to be the Debbie Downer on all side of things. So we hope that we can share some insights on how to set this up step by step and reach that shared value. If we look at some of the partners that we engage with and all of the conversations that we have around corporate volunteering, it mainly starts with how can I engage my employees and offer them opportunities to do good locally. So we absolutely love those conversations because it shows that there's at least the intention to do good. And some of those ingredients, so to say, for setting up that corporate partnership are that they want to have a collaboration with local charities and nonprofits that are close to home. Especially that local focus is so important. But it also needs to align with their own business purpose. So how can we connect those two, the needs of the local community and the way that a business is looking to practice their purpose, so to say. It's also about engaging employees on a personal level, because in the end, we're all people and we're all looking for a sense of belonging, so to say, to use our skills to do good and possibly also have a very efficient way of doing that, meaning, can I do this in a virtual manner, or can I do this on a one-off basis, or can I do it more regularly? Those are all of the elements that should be discussed when entering a partnership. In the end, it's also good to track that impact because most businesses have to report on the impact that they create. They have to report that to the community. They have to report to shareholders and the internal organization. So that's also one element. Impact measurement is a very important point to take into account. And in the end, I also feel like it would be cool if we would and could enable employees to create and run their own volunteering opportunities, projects and events, because we also see this major trend where initiatives that are started by volunteers themselves is going to be play a big role in the future, so to say. I also mentioned that different stakeholders have different needs. And as opposed to the, let's say, traditional way of volunteer brokerage organization or matching, there are different needs that you take into account when you start with corporate volunteering opportunities. For employees, it's the sense of belonging, the opportunity to do good locally. But they also look at it like, I want to develop my skills and I want to use my skills that I possess and do the things that I'm good at. On the business sides, they want to see and discover ways to create meaningful social action. Because for most businesses, it's not only about having that purpose story ready, but it's also about putting that into practice. On the nonprofit side, there's this huge need for specific skill sets and long-term commitment. And I truly believe that in the middle, there's a big role to play for infrastructure organizations that need to somehow combine all of these different needs and see if we can, let's say, make it work and truly facilitate a partnership between all of the stakeholders that is meaningful and scalable. Zooming in on how and why corporate volunteering is increasing and growing year by year, I think that the time is now, especially post-pandemic, to take a different look at how you operate your business, so to say. And this is from research all over the world, mainly focused on the US market, but I think it applies to most markets, that most businesses believe they should not only focus on making a profit, but also on social goals. And it's proven that businesses with social impact are more profitable in the long term and more innovative. So they did this research where they showed if you, it's about stock price, so to say. So your stock price, also in times of economic uproar, is much more stable, so to say, compared to businesses that don't have any focus on social impact. So there's also a business case to be made here. Then lastly, from the community side of things, most younger people or millennials and also the generation after that is increasingly demanding businesses to have social goals and improve society as a whole. So I also think that that is a big driving factor in the expectations that we have of businesses. So all in well, we know that it's a trend. The time to act is now. And then we get these, also at DeedMod, we get these requests from, let's say, local corporates that say, I'm looking for a team building activity Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, and it should be something with food, and it should be preferably be something with homeless people. Can you set this up? And then we notice exactly what is wrong with corporate volunteering nowadays. It's mainly not focused on long-term commitment, and it's usually seen as a one-off thing. And that's where we feel like there's still a big road ahead to make this truly valuable. If we look at the conversation that we engage in then in making sure that they understand what the benefits are, we try to discuss with them what the value is of having that shared social commitment, so we can help them out with opportunities, with the network, empowering them to make a local impact and focus on employee well-being, and also at the same time have a more inclusive approach on how you focus on employee well-being, so to say, leading to better retainment. So these discussions that we have with, for example, a CSR department or an HR department are very much focused on the practical outcomes of engaging in partnerships. Well, on the volunteer center side or infrastructure organization side, there's this opportunity to put the knowledge and skills that corporates provide to good use in the community, but also to connect them with local needs, so to say, and unique opportunities. And that's why we feel that most opportunities or activities are not yet suitable to offer to, let's say, regular volunteers. So there is a need for a partnership where you look in depth to having shared goals and defining that shared value. Well, the challenges, on the other hand, is, like I mentioned, it's still not something that is, at least not in the Dutch market, which I know best. It's not something that is scalable right now. Corporates have trouble to understand the reality of nonprofit partners. I can remember some occasions where a nonprofit partner or charity says, well, we're not so much looking for hosting team building activities where we have to brief them, train them for just one Tuesday night. We're looking for long-term commitment. And the businesses have trouble to create a programmatic approach to tackling societal issues, meaning they just have difficulty to go from that purpose promise to what does that look like in daily business. Meaning that it's difficult to meet everybody's needs, so to say. And that was especially hard with COVID being hopefully something from the past, where before COVID it was mostly in person, then it rapidly became virtual, and now businesses are increasingly looking for more hybrid opportunities. So there's also on the organization side a big challenge. How do we make everything work and come together, so to say? I think this is also the moment where I would love to hear from everybody, like, what are your experiences so far? Do you have examples of corporate partnerships that you created, stuff that's working? I've heard some input from Hannah also on Nissan and Amazon, I believe. So I would really love to open the floor and hear your experiences on things. So perhaps Hannah, you want to kick us off with some examples?
Yep. So we're quite in the early stages of working with Amazon and Nissan. A lot of them have requested sort of one-off volunteering days, but they are aware that it needs to be a bit more sustainable than that. A lot of organisations are wary of training up volunteers, going through all the policies, procedures, health and safety and everything, just for a one-off sort of activity. And we have explained that team building for the staff isn't really what organisations are looking for. But we have had some organisations that are happy to do the team building, but there is sort of a cost involved in that, because they would have to do something specific for the staff. And the one-off activities, they don't seem to be as meaningful as a sort of ongoing project. I mean, it's all well and good going and sort of painting a community centre, but how many times can that be done? How much impact is that having on the community? But we've had the likes of staff going in and setting up community gardens, which are a bit more sustainable. They can keep going back and supporting that community garden and things. So we do find it quite difficult to sell corporate volunteering to the non-profit organisations. As soon as they hear that it's sort of employee supported volunteering, they think it's going to be a lot of work. So we're trying to have those discussions with the non-profit organisations and let them know that there is benefits, and we're bringing in different skills than they would get from their usual set of volunteers. Even we're letting them know that the staff can come in and support their current volunteers and share their experience and skills and knowledge, and pass that on to their current volunteers. So then the volunteers are utilising that for a longer period of time, and it's changing the way organisations work.
Okay, that's great. I love those insights, and I think that it really aligns with some of the things that I mentioned earlier. I have one follow-up question in that regard. You mentioned something about the activities being community gardening, so to say. Yeah. Is it something that like, can you run me through the process? Like, how did they reach out? What was the initial request? Was it about, we just want to do something, let me know what we can do? That sort of stuff?
Yeah, so from the organisations looking to place their staff, it was, we want to volunteer, we've got this many volunteering hours, this many staff that we can sort of spare, and we want a lot of them come to us and say we want it to be something to do with environmental or climate change. And then because we work with hundreds of different non-profit organisations across County Durham, we know which ones are looking to set up new projects and things like that. So we just matched up the ones that were saying, right, we want to do this, but it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of manpower. And then that's when we thought, right, well, you're wanting to do it in sort of a small space of time, but you're needing quite a few people to do it. That would be good for the ESV. So the employees come in and they sort of help set up these gardens, and then it's not taking a lot of their volunteer hours. Their volunteers can then maintain the gardens and things, but the initial setting up of the garden is all done quickly, a lot of people, and then it's done. So all the sort of initial hard work is done, and then it's just the general maintenance for their volunteers.
Yeah, but I think in one, it's great that businesses such as Amazon and Nissan reach out and that they want to engage. So I'm not in any position to challenge that or make that lesser than it is, but it's also a very logical order of things where a big corporate wants to have local impact. They have environmental sustainability goals. So that's where they end up at projects such as community gardening. And I was wondering, because you also mentioned like they have volunteers ready and available, they have an agreement on the amount of volunteer hours. is this something that towards the future you will see more, that it's more important to connect them to, let's say, the needs of local nonprofits and utilizing those unique skill sets that employee volunteers might have? Or is this something that you will try to scale based on the needs that they have right now? Hope that was a clear question.
I think it's something that we're going to need to work towards, because there's a lot more with them being big organizations. I mean, we do work with smaller organizations as well, but Amazon and Nissan are like the biggest ones that have come to us and said we need support with this, just because we're the most local infrastructure organization to them. So they come to us for the support, but hopefully it's something that can be ongoing. And once they've got those relationships with the non-profit organizations, then they won't need to come to us. They can just sort it between themselves when they've got projects ongoing. They've got that connection, they've got those people there, but we're still there to sort of scale it up if need be, and if we can. And because it would be nice for them to have their sort of one partnership rather than loads and loads of different organizations where they just do a day here, a day there. It's nice for them to sort of get to know the organization they're working with and have the same sort of staff coming in and supporting them.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing these insights.
No problem.
Deborah, I think over to you. How is it on in Hertfordshire? I had to really practice. It's not Hertfordshire, but it's Hertfordshire.
It's very, very snowy. Well, it is on my road anyway. I think Katie will say as well, we've had some companies approaching us for corporate volunteering, but they tend to want the team building sort of days. And we have got quite a good organisation here, Church Farm Ardley, who are a little bit out in the sticks. I wouldn't want to drive there today. But they have all sorts of opportunities for, they run a sort of sustainable agricultural setup. I think they have people with special needs who they have ongoing work with, but then they also have organisations who will go in and do specific projects. So they're one of our first ports of call when someone asks about a corporate volunteering opportunity. You might want to talk to them, but of course, like Hannah's already said, it's this one-off one. It's an investment of time and material, so there is a charge for it. And sometimes the corporate organisations are sometimes surprised by that.
Yeah,
yeah, and I understand it would be really good to get some involved in longer term sustainable projects, but I might be getting them interested in it, but also having something there for them to do, and someone who's happy to take that on.
Yeah, and it sounds it's completely relatable. Also over here in the Netherlands, that it was quite surprising for me when we wanted to engage with volunteering opportunities. Gerber, my colleague, also said, "Well, there's a charge," and I was like, "Wait, why?" Yeah, because it's an investment from their side to able to provide us with that opportunity, and I think that really shows that there's a big challenge where different needs are not being met in terms of long-term commitment and being able to make a difference on the stuff that actually matters, instead of just, and I'm not being disrespectful at all, but just hands for the activity that is at hand. And I visited Spark Somerset last year, and we've visited this amazing land-based charity that also seeks to guide younger people and providing them with opportunities to do something with their hands. And they also engage with a lot of corporate volunteers, so to say, but it was mainly just come by when you have some, and there's always something to do. But I feel like on a personal level that I think it's difficult to connect those activities to the higher up goals that corporates might have in terms of sustainability. Like, does this add to employee well-being? Does this add to us being more sustainable in the broader sense, so to say? So there's still a tough cookie to crack over there. But later on, some examples how we try to drive that forward. So that's mainly my colleague Haye that is big on making sure that we tackle all of these challenges. I'm also looking at the presentation and the time. We're 40 minutes in, so I think it's almost time to have a quick break. Sorry. Oh, Katie has a question. Oh, I haven't checked the. Oh, Katie has raised her hand. Sorry,
Yeah,
I always tend to miss that one, but
that's okay, no problem. Yes, so I was just going to say, I think you know, everything you've touched on, Levi, is absolutely sort of the situation over here in the UK as well with regards to the challenges. I think it's our role really as infrastructure organisations to influence and to educate on both sides. So from you know, with the not-for-profit organisations, letting them know of the benefits of those organisations becoming long-term partners, potentially becoming long-term funders, generally becoming advocates for your organisation. And then on the flip side, for obviously the corporate volunteers, then being able to gain skills that they're not necessarily gaining in their day-to-day work, them, you know, doing good, them benefits to their well-being, benefits to employee morale more widely, staff retention. We know that there's links there as well. And for us, it's been about building sort of a catalogue of organisations that we know do it well, like Deborah was touching on. So, and when there are organisations who do it well, to ask them to share their best practice with other organisations as well. So why does it work for you? Why does it, you know, how does it work? How did you build up this model, and what sort of resource and capacity does that take for your team, so that there's a model that works? And obviously it's not one size fits all, but that they can share their experiences, and then it sort of enables other organisations to not feel so overwhelmed by it, but actually to have a point of contact to say, to talk them through the process and how it was done. So rather than just offering one one organization each time, we're giving sort of a selection of organizations that are bespoke to the needs of someone who comes to us. And obviously the DeedMob platform's hugely helpful with that, because you have the group function, we can pull off by district, so we can do it specific to a location. So that's been really helpful in enabling us to signpost. But yeah, I think it's, as you said earlier, that education piece as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing, and I think it's a great idea to can you elaborate a little bit more on cataloging? So do I understand it correctly, where you just look at organizations that have activities that are well suitable for corporate volunteers, so to say, and that's where you try to set up the catalog, like this is something that we can offer that is a great match for the needs right now?
Yeah, so obviously it's taking a look at the type of volunteering we have. So obviously a long-term role is not going to be suitable, and a role that requires DBS and enhanced sort of vetting processes, that's not going to be suitable. So taking those sort of organisations off the list, and then obviously looking at the groups filter to see what opportunities can be done in groups, but also realising that corporates will approach us to say, we want individuals to be able to choose where they go. And obviously we're seeing more and more now that corporates offer a certain number of days a year to each employee. So rather than just say it being, I think there's a shift from the original corporate volunteering, which was a group of people coming to paint a fence, so to speak. It's now that individual choice. It's empowering their employees to have that choice. So yeah, building a catalogue that is suitable to various different needs and varying inquiries that we do have, and we do that by filtering the DeedMob platform and pulling off certain different groups according to area, according to needs, etc.
It's great. Yeah, thank you so much. And I fully agree that there is a shift going on, and I think it will be. I think that shift from, let's say, group activities and team building exercises, I think it will shift more towards having a broader understanding of your sustainability policy and the enablement of social action, so to say, not just on a group level or a team level, but also on a personal level, by offering employees the opportunity to connect it with their own personal purpose, and in that sense being able to connect it to their personal development plans, HR policies, and in itself, by sharing those best practices within and outside of the organization, we can also tackle the fact that you're able to report in a qualitative sense on what it is that you actually do. But I also see that, and I also heard it from some of the remarks, like the focus from corporates on the environmental side of things is a big one, carbon neutral, and doing something that is connected to nature, so to say, and oftentimes not that much focused on social, more activities in the social domain, so to say. Yeah, okay. We have some best practices ready that we would love to share, but I think it's also, let's take a moment, let's take 5 minutes to have a quick break, have a hot drink. I see that you started wearing your scarf, so hopefully I have this picture that if you look outside of the window, that it's like 2 meters snow, but okay, but it's still a nice one.
Still more than we have.
It is, but I also expect that the cold weather is going to hit us hard here. But I absolutely love it, so I put up the Christmas tree, and I have this fireplace going on my TV, so that's great. Let's take 5 minutes, and then we'll see each other again and dive into those best practices. All right, then. See you. While my colleague HJ is setting up stuff, we'll just, I'll start the presentation so we can show some examples on what we see working in, for example, the Dutch market.
Yes, thank you, Levi. Sorry, are we connected and everything? Thank you. So we already had a great discussion about examples in the UK, and I'm also looking forward to share a few of them that we have in the Dutch market. And I think most of them are really fitted within the current situation, like the first one, Vershaft Vrijwilligerscentrale, which is an organization similar to yours when it comes that they cover a local area where they support NGOs in finding volunteers. But they do have a specific corporate desk. So they have a specific person that local corporations can contact, and then they can ask questions to connect. And you can see that during this year they had a few great matches, but the same is what their problems that they're having is that they don't always have the opportunities for these corporates, because as Katie said, but also Deborah said and Anna said, they're looking for one-offs, they're looking for bigger groups, and they are trying to transform it into a more sustainable. But I think we have a great example for that, but I will talk more about that afterwards. But I also want to talk a little bit more about the corporates itself, and that's with focus versus not focus. When we look at, we also support within DeedMob corporates themselves, and usually those are multinationals. So we work on one end, we work for a big or large financial organization, which is market leader within the agricultural market worldwide, and on the other hand, we work for a very large food organization that have a lot of supermarkets in the Netherlands, but also in Belgium, Germany, United States. And the bank is sponsoring a lot of local opportunities. So they already have a financial commitment to local opportunities, and it is a broad range of opportunities. So they have coding schools, they have food banks, they support food banks, they have educational opportunities, they have intern for a day where they help out youngsters who are from neighborhoods that don't have usually the opportunities that other neighborhoods as well have. So they already have a financial commitment. They also have a couple of people within the organization that are responsible for organizing these activities. Usually they work for the sustainable, they are a sustainable manager, or they are a corporate responsibility manager, but they also are connected to human resources and marketing, because that is the triangle that you really need within a corporate to connect with the right people, and that it's also embedded within the organization. So within the bank, everything goes well. What we see with the food organization, with the supermarkets, they're not focused. So they have an intern, and nothing wrong with interns, but it's really more into an early stage. So they thought, yeah, we need to do something with corporate volunteering, but we don't know how. Oh, Dietmar, can you do it? Can you do the matching? Can you help out? And what we don't do that. Now we support our clients, we support our organizations like Go Hertfordshire, like Spark Somerset. We support them, but they have the connection, they have the local connection. But we need to now help out this client in onboarding their employees and helping them out. And that you see is the big difference within organizations. And when you look to corporates and corporate volunteering, you have 3 stages. So the first stage is that they want to do something with a team activity. Usually it has to do something with a grandma someone has a grandma who's in a local home, or there is something to do with the local football club, or with the local charity. So they have some connection and they want to do a team activity. The second type of organizations, they want to scale it up. They know that they need to do something with it. And these are the organizations that we here as a group together need to target, because they really want to start engaging with local communities and want to do more than just team activities. And there's the third group. And then you can see it at the moment that the sustainability manager or the corporate social responsibility department or manager, he or she is not there anymore, and they're saying everyone is our sustainable manager. Companies like Tesla, companies like Patagonia, then you know it's embedded within the organization. Then it's already too late for us to join, because it's already part of their part of what they're doing. But I believe that what we're doing now with Business Involved is really a great example of how it could work. And if we go to the next slide, then you see the landing page with Business Involved. Business Involved is the corporate volunteering platform within the city of Amsterdam. And we are running this project with 3 partners. So the first one is the municipality of Amsterdam. Unfortunately, I have to mention it, but something happened a few years ago called Brexit. And within Brexit, there are organizations, corporates, who are moving to the EU zone. So Amsterdam is in competition with Dublin and with Frankfurt, also with Paris, but most of them, because it's a lot of financial organizations, Frankfurt, Dublin, and Amsterdam, so that they wanted to welcome companies to the city of Amsterdam. And they use volunteering to know the country, to get to know them. So it's really a helpful tool to introduce the culture of the country. So this is the municipality is involved. They have an international desk, and they also have a corporate desk. So we get the leads. So we get the corporate leads. The second one is the volunteer center, which is not part of the municipality, but is subsidized 100% by the municipality of Amsterdam to engage with NGOs. And the third one is we. So we provide the technology platform. And what I really like about this example, and I'm gonna give a few extra tips as well, is that we have that triangle. So we have the municipality, who is really committed to making a success of this platform. We have the volunteer center, who has a lot of knowledge, who has a lot of tips and tricks, and also know which NGOs we can contact and which NGOs can we help out and can match, because that's what Katie was saying about the catalog. You need to have a catalog of opportunities that you can do as a company volunteer, because not every activity that usually can do someone within a city or within a village, it's also a company opportunity, a company volunteering opportunity. And when you go to the next slide, you can see also an overview of all the activities on the platform where they present themselves. And the cool thing about this platform, it's two-sided. So usually you see a local charity who asks for, can you please help me out with with this business case? We have marketing opportunities, we have financial opportunities, we talk about collecting and donating computers and desks and everything that, but also companies can present themselves. So they can say, well, we create a profile, we show what we can do, and we can also, if you need help with this and this and this, then please contact us. So it's a two-sided marketplace. And then when we go to the next slide, it's also, and this was also what we're talking about within the discussion, it's also about sharing knowledge, because there are a lot of companies that want to do something with company volunteering, but they don't know where to start. And unfortunately, how it is right now is changing, especially when you look like 4 years ago and now, and I think within the next year, it's also changing, is that when you look at now, they don't know where to start. So they think, oh, we need to do something with a charity that we're friends with, or we need to do something with our neighbors. So a platform or a page or what, the platform is not the goal, it's a means to reach the goal. You can share the story. So you can share when you go for companies, you can see more information about what you can do. And we suggest that you create a profile where you as a company can represent themselves and where they can connect with local NGOs. And all the opportunities on this platform are focused purely on corporate volunteering. And there's also this language barrier, and it's not something that you have in the UK, but we have it in the Netherlands, that local NGOs don't usually want to welcome people who don't speak Dutch, because that is something of a challenge for them. So also we made a selection of NGOs that want to do something with international people who are working here or want to connect and want to know how it's going within the city of Amsterdam. And as you can see here on the map, you can see all the opportunities. And there's also another language discussion. It's not just with English, but it has to do with how corporates are talking and how NGOs are talking. And both need to be more on the same level. NGOs are really focusing on local impact. They're really focusing on their own goals, and they're really interested on making benefits for local communities. Companies want to do also something with community, but also want to be part of their goals, of their sustainable goals, of their maybe need to do something with their shareholders, especially with their stakeholders. Sometimes they have a contract with the government, the local government, and need to do something to give back. And a really great way to talk about, to match this language, is the next slide, is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This is the universal language of impact. So it really helps out to level both sides to talk about impact. So if you are, for example, a food bank, and you want to talk with a local company who provides food stamps or provides something when it comes to food, then you can talk a lot about impact. You can a lot about sustainable development. You can talk a lot about all these things. But if you talk about SDG 2, then you all know what you're talking about. Also, when it comes to poverty, when it comes to good health, especially SDG 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 are really suitable for company volunteer. So if you look into these SDGs, and our platform is fully integrated, and what we do with these SDGs is that we measure all the impact via these SDGs, so you can speak the language that these companies are talking. If you go to the next slide, Then you can see if you did a search on, in this case, good health and well-being, and also loneliness. Then you see here, this is an organization that is called Oma Soup. In English, it's called Granny's Soup. And where this is a delightful way to connect elderly with companies where they eat soup at the office together with people from with the people who created the soup, or with the people who are with the soup intended for. So this is a great way to connect, and is not a long-term commitment, but it is an impactful commitment. And that is also really something that we're doing with Business Involved. And it's also something to do with sharing input and output. People are always talking about they want to have we want to have 1,000 matches, or wanted to have 300 people that are matched. No, we're talking about quality instead of quantity. So you can go with 100 people to Oma Soup, or you can go with 3 people where there's really a connection. And when you do company volunteering for the first time, research shows that if you do that, people are coming back because they get inspired. They want to do more with their they want to do more with their local communities. So it really helps them out to connect and to share the story. And if we go to the next slide, if you create a company profile on DeedMob, then you can also invite your colleagues to share. You can create an impact goal, so you can make it more of a team effort, and it gives you way more opportunities to engage with these company volunteers. So I think that this example, Business Involved, especially the triangle of, on one hand, the municipality, the other hand, the volunteer center, and the technical partner, really helps out to really make this a success, and it's already a success. We're in the 2nd year. The municipality is very committed to make a huge success of this, and we are getting a lot of questions also from other areas within the Netherlands, but also outside of the Netherlands. And these come with the tips. So the next slide is really focused on the tips and tricks. And I already said a few things, but I just want to mention it again. The first one is involve the right partners. So when it comes to Business Involved, it has to do with the municipality. It has to do with the volunteer center. It has to do with a platform provider, but it also has to do within the organization. So is there a CSR manager? Is there an HR manager? Is there is it part of marketing? Is it part, or they just want to do something one-off? So ask the right questions and speak the same language. Talk about sustainable development goals. Talk about connecting with local opportunities, not and also say no if it's just what we also had within the discussion. Focus on quality instead of quantity. Suitable opportunities, Katie already talked about it, that catalog. It's really important that you help out charities, local NGOs to find opportunities that are focused on company volunteering. And there are many examples. So helping out with marketing, social media, finance. You see, for example, in America, they have board member opportunities. So you have local charities with the board members, and they share it with 3 interns for a year, or with 3 trainees for a year. So it's a great way to connect local communities or local NGOs with companies. And it's also not the biggest commitment because you share it. From my personal experience, I am also a volunteer, and I share it with someone else. So it is also to make not the burden, but the time effort to make it more doable for people who are having jobs, as we also talked about. And also introduce charities or introduce NGOs to corporates. You can always match, but if you just connect the contact person within the organization of the corporate, and if you connect the contact person within the NGO, conversation is starting. They're getting more and more inspired. It really helps out just to have, and that is one of the few benefits that we have from COVID, is that now it's way more part of our daily business to do video chat. So just connect them with 15 minutes, and then you can see that both sides are way more connected. Also, there is a difference between SME and multinational. We, as Dietmar, we can provide tools to multinationals, but we only provide the tools. We don't provide the matching. You can provide all to multinationals, Amazon, Nissan, but also to SME, especially SME, because SME really helps out local communities and they really want to do something with their local community. So take them with you, help them out, and really share the story, which I'm also going to talk a bit more about in a few seconds. Also, take case of necessary health and safety checks. Sometimes company volunteers, but we also talked about in the discussion, are not always suitable or for all the opportunities that are out there. Engage all parties, connect them. It's really important. Thank you, Gerben. Also, share stories. This is something that I always are telling, but people always forget it. If there is a good if there is a good match, if there is something successful, share the story on all sides. So share it, show a nice picture, share a picture, share a quote, share it on social media. We have a great video also of Business Involved. We will share it afterwards, after this meeting as well. But share these stories. People are always forgetting. I gave a presentation a few weeks ago in Munich, and it was a sector within electronics, and 5% of all electronic organizations within the electronics and really hard tech do something with company volunteering. But when I just talked about, okay, just share a few things. They did so amazing things, but they're not sharing the story because they're saying, yeah, we just do it because we are, and when we don't want to share it because it's just part of, we don't want to greenwash or elaborate it, but share these stories. It's so important. Also evaluate the measure. Again, speak the language, SDGs, talk about impact, and make it tangible. So this is just one thing more of an overview. So share stories, speak the language, involve the right parts, make it tangible, and then it maybe you need to start at a local coffee house to do a group activity, but then it will become tangible, and then you can start a healthy relationship with corporates and NGOs. Thank
you. Thank you for sharing these insights, and we'll also open up the floor a little later on to discuss these examples. But I wanted to quickly touch upon the make impact tangible part. I think that towards next year, making impact better measurable in such a way that we can also create a business case around it around corporate volunteering, I think is a big priority for us, since we need to be able to connect the activity and the social action to what is it not only on a qualitative side, but also what does it mean in quantity, so to say. So what is the impact on employee well-being? What is the impact on employee retainment, which will help them see corporate volunteering not as a one-off opportunity, but something that they invest in and for a longer period of time. So that's something that we will also follow up in our priority list for next year. Then I wanted to see if there are open ends to the conversation, so to say. I prepared I wanted to hear some responses to these best practices, but what are the challenges that you see right now that you are keen on tackling towards 2023? So to say, Hannah, can I get a glimpse of your plans towards the future? Anything else than you already previously shared?
Just our plans are to sort of expand on the corporate volunteering side and get more knowledge around the support, the benefits of corporate volunteering and things like that, just to try and get more non-profits and organizations on board with it.
That's great. I think benefits are the best way to go, and that begins with sharing the stories also. I think that we cannot have enough stories because they really speak to the mind, but also since we're all people, that's what we respond to in a sense. So great next steps. Deborah, Katie, how is it for you? What are the next steps for you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's building up more of those case studies for sure. I mean, every time I respond to a corporate volunteering query, I always send the links to a couple of case studies that we've helped recently, and blogs with photos so that people can see, you know, how it's worked in the past. But I think having diversifying those stories is really important as well, so that people can see that they can have a range of opportunities on offer to them. So yeah, I would say that the case studies will probably be our main focus, as well as building that catalogue and making sure that more people, more of the not-for-profits on the organisation, on the platform, sorry, on the DeepMod platform, are identifying themselves as being able to offer a corporate volunteering function. And again, it's that education around how to go about it. So I think before we can encourage them to offer corporate volunteering, I think the education comes first. So case studies, education, and then encouragement, I would say.
I think that's a great order of things, and I love the structured approach. And I think we would love to connect later on the progress on that. As for the program, we touched upon a lot of things like challenges, benefits, but also the more practical sense. How can we go about this? And I'd love to hear if there are any open-ended questions from your end, because we still have some time to dive a little bit deeper into some stuff. All right, then I think it's all clear. What we'll do is we'll share the recording with you, the presentation, but also some additional material that we feel like is a great place to start by making sense of how to organize corporate volunteering in 2023, because I can imagine that planning is a big part of your time right now. We'll move on with making sure that on one hand, corporates understand the reality of nonprofit partners, on the other hand, help out facilitating organizations to structure their offering in such a way that it enables a long-term commitment and a long-term partnership. We'll support that as best as we can with the next step in impact measurement, not only qualitative side, but also on the quantitative side, because I personally believe that by making a business case, because we are in the end dealing with businesses, is the way to show that there's not money to be made in this, but there is big improvements to be made on retaining and making sure that employees are feeling well and making the difference that most companies have been talking about for years on end now, and how to create and step from those plans into a more practical side of things. Thank you so much for everybody joining, for sharing your insights. And I hope that we can continue this conversation afterwards when we also follow up with the rest of the attendees. And we'll also be able to share some insights from our Dutch counterpart session that we'll have this Thursday. And we're keen on connecting everybody and those insights and making 2023 a wonderful year again. That's it for now. I wish everybody all the best and lovely holidays with lovely snow, and hopefully speak soon.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.